terminal, ready to head back to Boca. We're sad to be leaving Eretz Yisrael, but certainly don't want to leave without making sure that we catch up to the shir that I owe you from last night, which still Monday for some of the Chavra. And we are at the very top of Daf Samches Amud Beis, where the Gemara is discussing the din that the Mishnah told us. The Mishnah told us that one of the things that you were allowed to do for the Karban Pesach on Erev Pesach Shechalios B'Shabbos was hectare chalav, the hectare of the chalavim in the Imurim. You were allowed to already burn the parts of the Karban that needed to be put onto the Mizbech. You could do that on Shabbos. Tanya says the Gemara at the top of Samches Amud Beis. Tanya Amar Rabbi Shimon, says Rabbi Shimon, Bo Re'ei, come and see Kama Chaviva Mitzvah B'Shata, how amazing and dear a mitzvah is in its right time. Sha'arei, because you'll see Hektar Chalavim Ve'ivarim Upedarim Kishem Kala Laila. The din is that the burning of the fats and the limbs and all of the different pieces of the Karban are Kishem Kala Laila. Strictly speaking, you would have been able, the Kohanim could have burned that all that night, meaning the night of Leil Pesach. But you see that they don't wait until it's nightfall. They don't wait. You already start doing that earlier. Fascinatingly, this seems to be a din de'oraisa, meaning what the Torah is telling you is that Chavim Mitzvah B'Shata. This might be a smach for the fact that Chavim Mitzvah B'Shata is a din de'oraisa. Nevertheless, says the Gemara, continuing, one of the things that you were that the Mishnah lists is harkavasa v'havasa, transporting it and bringing it back. Says the Gemara as follows: Very aminu. And we're going to see that there is a machlokes, that there's a challenge against this, because one of the things that we saw, part of the discussion that we had in the Mishnah, was removing a wart of the karban. Says the Gemara very aminu. We ask a contradiction against this. The din is that you are allowed to remove the wart of a karban in the Beis Hamikdash, but you are not allowed to do so b'Medina. Medina means anywhere outside of the Beis Hamikdash. V'im b'kli, and this Bryce is telling us, v'im b'kli, if it is done with a kli, meaning you did it with a scalpel, you did it with a knife, kan v'kan aser, you're not allowed to do it even in the Beis Hamikdash. It would all be aser. And now we have a machlokes. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Machlokes between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Chad Amar, one of them says, Idi v'idi biyad, that both are talking about doing it biyad, meaning our Mishnah and this Brisa that discuss removing warts are doing it biyad. Habalacha, that Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yossi, that they have the machlokes. The machlokes is not with regards to whether or not you do it by hand. Everybody agrees if you did it by kli, it would be aser. But habalacha yavasha. There's a machlokes whether or not there is a difference between a wet wart and a dry wart. B'chad amar, and the other way of understanding the machlokes is idi v'idi balacha. Both opinions in the Tanaim, both the Mishnah and the Brisa, hold that it is mutar in some cases balacha, v'loy kasha ha biyad ha b'kli. The discrepancy of the Brises is whether or not there is yudip biyad or yudip b'kli. Meaning, the shaila is where it is mutar to remove a wart in the Beis Hamikdash. Is that because you did it by hand, or is that because you did it on a wet wart? What is the heter? Says the Gemara as follows: Amar habiyad habikli, and according to the opinion that says that it is the machlokes is whether it was done by yad or it's done by kli. My time why not say that everybody agrees that it's mutter to do it by hand? And the machlokes is whether it is a dry wart or a wet wart. Amalach, so he'll say to you, that a dry wart crumbles up by itself. Well, Amanda Amar, meaning, and therefore it's not called cutting. There's nothing to talk about. There's only a machlokes. There's only a discussion to be had. It would be a wet wart. Well, Amanda Amar idibiyad, and according to the opinion that says both of them are by hand. Like kasha, there's no machlokes. Habalacha, like kasha. and there's no there's no discrepancy in the brises. The brises are talking about different cases. Habalacha, habiyavasha. That the brisa that says that it's mutter is when it is dry water, and the one that says it's also would be a wet water. My time why didn't he say that both of them agree that both brises, both the Mishnah and the brisa are talking about a case of lach, of something wet for like kasha b'kli habiyad, and the shal is whether or not you did it by hand or with a utensil. Amalach, he said to you, kli. This brisa tells you that was done b'kli. So this is meaning the brisa that we just quoted is v'im b'kli kan v'kan aser, and if you do it with a kli, it would be aser. If it would be with a kli, it would be aser. So it says meferish. It says kli. Amalach kli. So you say haktani hasam in b'kli. No, it says there b'kli kan v'kan aser. Everybody agrees that with a kli it would be aser. Ve'idach. So Amalach, he says, says Amalach, he says to you, Kli Hagdani Hasam. Kli, it says that beferish. In Kli, if it was done with Kli, can answer, everybody agrees that it's also Ve'idach. And the other opinions would say, Hadikani Kli, the fact that you said Kli, Hacha, in this case, tells you that there is a Kli, there is a case that everybody agrees that with the Kli it's going to be also. He comes to tell you that there is a machlekes about between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua with regards to if you would do it belach, if you would do biyavasha with biyad, meaning the fact that this brisa tells you that it's a kli is coming to tell you that there is a case that there is a machlokes even if you did it biyad, and that would be the case of whether it was machlokes, whether it was wet or dry. Okay, Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Says Rabbi Eliezer, Ma im shchita. There was machlokes between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer with regards to whether or not we are going to learn from the dinim of Yom Tov, which have dinim d'oraisa that are mutter, you're allowed to cook and you're allowed to carry, to learn the hechsherim of those things that are isurim midrabanan, to tell you about the shechting of the Korban Pesach on Shabbos. That was what the Mishnah was telling us. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yeshua, Latami, Rabbi Yeshua is consistent with his reasoning. The Amar, because he holds Simchas Yom Tov Nami Mitzvah, that the mitzvah of Simchas Yom Tov is also a mitzvah, meaning that the Torah obligates you to be besimcha on Yom Tov. What do you mean? Doesn't everybody agree that the Torah tells you that you have to be besimcha on Yom Tov? No. Apparently there are other options, and this is a fairly famous sugya, and you see that it comes up usually in drashas and divrei Torah with regards to Shavuos, as you'll see in a moment. The Tanya, Brisa tells us as follows. Rabbi Eliezer tells us, you have two options on Yom Tov, says Rabbi Eliezer. Either you eat, drink, and be merry, have a lebedik day, or you sit and you learn. Beis Medrash day. Those are your two options for Yom Tov. Rabbi Yeshua says, Chalkehu. You have to divide up every Yom Tov. Half of it is about being besimcha, the mitzvah of simcha and Yom Tov, achila and shtia, and half of it you spend in the Beis Medrash. Va'amar Rabbi Yochanan, and says Rabbi Yochanan, Shnei mikra echad Dirshu, both of them are learning it from one pasuk. Kasav echad, meaning from the same psukim. As you'll see, there's two psukim. Kasav echad, one pasuk says, Atzeres Hashem Lakecha, that there is an Atzeres that's talking about the seventh day of Pesach, but the pasuk says Atzeres Hashem Lakecha. There's an Atzeres for Hashem your God. Because of Echad, another pasuk says Atzeres Tiyelachem, that it should be an Atzeres for you. Rabbi Eliezer says Oikulu Lashem, Oikulu Lachem. You have to choose. Every Yom Tov you have to pick. Either it's a day that's entirely dedicated to Hashem, or it's entirely dedicated to you, to your simcha. Meaning, Simchas Yom Tov is one possibility of the mitzvah deraisa. You don't have to have a Simchas Yom Tov. You could alternatively have a day of learning. Rabbi Yeshua holds you divide it up half for you and half for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is lichara how we paskin. Okay. Then we have in the parentheses Avam Siman, which Shlomo Kodesh says all the secrets of the Gemaras are contained in these simanim, which seem to be mnemonics to remember the sugyas, but there's big Sodas HaTorah in there, so it's kedai to read them out. So Avam Siman. Everybody agrees that on the Yom Tov of Shavuos, and this is the Shavuos Torah, that you need Nami Lachem, you also have to have Lachem, meaning you cannot only have a day dedicated to Hashem on Shavuos, the Matan Torah, which is interesting. Everybody agrees that on Atzeres, you need to eat, drink, and be merry. My time, what is the reason? Yom Shenitna by Torah, because it's the day that the Torah was given. Rabbi says, Hakomad b'Shabbos to be in Lachem, and Rabbi says everybody agrees, both Rabbi Losson and Rabbi Yeshua, that on Shabbos you also need Lachem. You need to be eating and drinking on Shabbos. My time of across the Shabbos only, because Shabbos is called an oiding, says the pasuk in Yeshaya. Amar Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef Hakomad Purim Divin and Lachem. Everybody agrees that Purim you also need Lachem. My time, what's the reason? You may Mishta v'Simcha, days of Mishta and Simcha. That's Ksiv Bey. That's what it says about it. Mar Bered Ravina Kula Shata Hava Yosef B'Tanisa. Mar, the son of Ravina, would sit all day, every day, B'Tanis. He didn't eat. Levar me'atzarta, except for atzeres, meaning Lichara he would eat at night. Levar me'atzarta, except for atzeres, meaning Shavuos, Upuraya, and Purim, Umali Yom Kippur, and Erev Yom Kippur. What's the rationale behind it? Atzeres, he held like this. Atzeres, Shavuos, Yom Shnit B'Torah is the day the Torah was given. Purim, you may Mishta v'Simcha Kosef. Purim is explicitly, you have to have Mishta v'Simcha. Mali Yom Kippur and Erev Yom Kippur. Why do you eat in Erev Yom Kippur? The Tanya Chibar Rav mi Difti. He says Chibar Rav from Difti. V'nisam es nafshei seichel. The pasuk says that you have to afflict your soul. B'tisha l'chodesh, on the 9th day of the month of Tisha, of the 7th month. V'chi b'tisha misanim, and you really have to fast on the 9th day. Halo b'asir misanim. We fast on the 10th day. Ela loymar lach, to tell you kala oichel v'shes b'tisha boy male alav akasav ki'ilu misane chi v'asiri. To tell you, anybody that eats and drinks on the 9th day of the month of Tisha, it's as if they have fasted on the 9th and the 10th, meaning that there is a mitzvah of achila on Erev Yom Kippur. Rav Yosef, b'yom da'atzarta Amar, Rav Yosef, on the day of Shavuos would say, Abdili egel tilsa, make me a third calf. That either means a 3-year-old calf or the third born calf, meaning apparently some big time delicacy. Amari said, if not for this day, for what this day did, how many Yosefs would there be in the market? Meaning, I would just be a random dude. My whole life is about Torah, and that's only because of this day. And it says the Gemara of Sheshes called Tlasin Yomi Mahadale Talmudi. Rav Sheshes would chaza all of his limud every 30 days. Big sugya. Vitali Vikai Be'ira the Dasha, and he would stand at the side of the doorway. Valmar, and he said, Chadai Nafsha, my soul is happy, Lach Kari, Lach Tanai, because I read you, because I learn you. And Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, my flight is boarding, and we will continue with the last 5 lines of this Amud, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, in the next shir, hoping that everybody is doing well, and looking forward to seeing everybody back in Boca soon, if not, even sooner in Eretz Yisrael.